is 19-year-old Harry Jones showing us a quick way around Queensland Raceway, and it's a milestone day for the Porsche Michelin GT3 Cup Challenge Australia. 200 races, Troy Bundy from Porsche Cars Australia, an amazing milestone.
Yeah, like we're really excited to celebrate our 200th race this race weekend. We've been going for 11 years now, and it's a proving ground for Porsche. It's the first step in the Porsche pyramid. A lot of our great drivers have come from here, like Matt Campbell, Jackson Evans, Mark Seedy, and also Stephen Graver, all racing overseas at the moment, and they started their careers in Porsche in Australia. So we're pretty proud of this series and all the talent that's coming through at the moment.
Yeah, it's very noisy down here now. Race number 199 had a few little dramas in it. We had some restart issues that we'll hear about from commentators shortly. But as I said up on this outlet now, you must be so proud to see where this category's come from and where it is right now.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, race one was unbelievable. I mean, the race for second and third was incredible, and we're really proud of these guys, of the racing they put on. It's clean, it's hard, and it's really fast. The cars are amazing, and they all love it, and we're really looking forward to the 200th race, which is about to happen now.
Well, no one's looking forward to it more than Richard Crail and Greg Rust.
Thank you, Cameron. Word from organisers is too, you have used your social media quota for the day, Cameron. So nice stuff there from Troy Bundy as well, from Porsche Cars Australia, and it really sets the tone for us. You've been with it for nearly those 200 races, Richard Crail. There's been some great names, some great things that you've ticked off along the way as a category and as a sport.
It's come a long way, Rusty. It's a massive milestone for Porsche in Australia, and the landscape when this series started is so different to where it is now. Carrera Cup Australia was having a couple of years off. This series was just in a foundation phase. It started with 13 cars of a really disparate group of cars, and it's now a legitimate stepping stone up into the top levels of Porsche racing, not just here but globally as well. And we saw an absolute cracking 199th race earlier today. 200 could be just the same.
Sure could be. It's an enduro style race, and I have loved this addition to Porsche Michelin GT3 Cup Challenge. It's something a little bit different in the format of the weekend, if you like. So Max Vidot starts this one from pole position. He won the race a little earlier today. If you're watching our Shannons live stream coverage, he's joined by the championship leader or series leader in Harry Jones. Alongside him, Christian Pancioni actually scored the pole position for this round of the championship. And Cameron Crick, who we heard from before, that's a really good kind of PB performance from him with that fourth place. Nice work.
It was a terrific drive. That was a great interview with him. He's one of the great guys in the sport, as you touched on. Fantastically busy driving every weekend, which is great to see. This is going to be a really interesting race. Currently 28 degrees ambient at the moment. Track temperature in the mid-30s. 33 laps the distance, round about 45 minutes if it goes green. By the end of it, rear tyres will be shot. Left-hand tyres, which is the working side here, will be shot. You'll be hanging on to these Porsche 991 GT3 Cup cars at the end of this one. Em?
Guys, McElroy Racing have been working hard in that break, repairing the broken steering rack to Ryan Sewell's car, which they did in record time. I must add, a good start will be crucial, but keep an eye on him coming through that field.
That's a really good point, Emma. Starting from position 19, had that drama in the last race, so he's off the back of the grid. That car that we want to see a bit more colour, a bit more sponsorship of, because he's such a bright star of the game who's come through Formula 4. He was ultra professional in an interview we saw with him earlier today, and we know that he can drive fast. So a green flag being waved at the back of the grid. This is a special day for this series and for Porsche Cars Australia. Race number 200, Porsche GT3 Cup Challenge Australia, second one of the weekend. Ripping start by Jones. He launches away. Max Vidot trying to go with him side by side on the run to one. And it's the Sonic entry that gets the upper hand. Good job. Now, the over and under that we see here at Queensland Raceway. Jones fights back. Brilliant stuff.
Yeah, great bit of driving. Harry Jones, the start between the two of them was a line ball. Usually it's the left-hand side of the road that gets the run. Wasn't quite the case. This time it was the over and under. Here's Pancioni just sticking his nose out. Max Vidot will do the same. The big send around the outside at turn 3. You got to get it stopped and turned though. The Sonic driver's done it, but they'll be wheel to wheel on corner exit. McElroy driver with the advantage though.
Scott Taylor using every ounce of the exit there, almost the joining road between 3 and the final turn.
The just hanging on, aren't they, on cold tyres?
Exactly what I was watching.
Yeah, they'll get up to temperature quickly. They're still wheel-to-wheel a little bit further in the pack. Now, the other driver to watch in this is Aaron Love, who stormed his way through the field in race 1 earlier today. He went from 17th to 6th. He's already up 1 spot. In fact, it could be 2. Watch for the bright orange car. He's up to 4th. And we understand that Cameron Crick's going to have a start line infringement penalty, which will be 5 seconds added to his race time. Perhaps we're rolling at the start. So 1 down, 32 to go. It's the championship leader, the Helimont Porsche from McElroy Racing, who leads the way from Max Bido. He's second in the standings, and Christian Pancioni, who quite brilliantly earlier today scored his first career pole position. Ryan Sewell, the young gun, stormed his way up to 14th place. So 6 cars in the first lap.
Just got a glimpse of the 777 there a moment ago of Cameron Crick. So you heard Richard say there that they are investigating in race control. Stephen Johnson, son of the legendary Dick Johnson, and a very good racer in his own right. We'll be looking closely at that, and we have the confirmation now. It's a 5-second penalty for Cameron Crick for that start line infringement.
Just can't afford to throw away 5 seconds in a field this competitive, Rusty. Can kill your motor race, especially in these long races. Quite often late in the race, you get a safety car. If someone ends up off the road and it condenses the field, that could really hurt Cameron. He'll be hoping that this race goes green, the field spreads itself out, can minimise that damage. There's the all-white McElroy Porsche of Ryan Sewell just going down the inside of another candidate, so that's for 12th place. Working his way towards the top 10. He's still got 31 laps to make some inroads.
Early days. Management of that rubber is going to be super critical toward the end of this. Jones leading the way. What a season it's been for him. Max Bido with that confidence boost from the race win earlier today. Great stuff, and he has a look down the inside. Oh, just clips the curb on entry. Nice racing between the pair of them, but it will mean that Jones should have the ideal run to the middle part of our, what we affectionately know as the paperclip here at Queensland Raceway, and he regains that lead.
I spoke to Series Driver Standards advisor Stephen Johnson after race 1, and we saw contact between Bido and Jones out of turn 3, front to rear, earlier in race 1. Now, the rule is that you need to have your front wheel up alongside the car in front. So if you're on the outside there, so front wheel to rear wheel at least, that's the only time he'll consider that if you're on the outside, you've got right of way. Otherwise, you need to get out of it. So that little bit of contact we saw, nothing in that, no penalties there. The other bit of housekeeping from that was we saw the bump and run with Pancioni and Jones at turn 3. And then on the final lap, we saw the return of serve at turn 6. That was considered fair bump, play on. It levelled itself out at the end of the race, no problems. Let them race. That is great officiating from the team in race control and Stevie J, who's worked very, very hard over the last 2.5 years now on driver standards in both this and Porsche Pace Carrera Cup. I love it. Let him go.
Absolutely. The 3rd generation, incidentally,
Yeah.
Jet Johnson was almost going to race here in another class this weekend, but I understand that might happen maybe a little bit later in the year where they might pair up Stephen and Jet Johnson for a race. That would be cool, particularly with Grandad.
And the first, Stevie was showing me some video, the first run on a racetrack had Dick Johnson on FaceTime with Steve in the passenger seat and Jet driving. How
Super.
good is that?
Super.
And Jill Johnson probably stressing out somewhere in the back of the paddock.
Back to the action here. Nothing in it in this group. Nice work by Love as well in 4th position.
When these races can be funny, Rusty, because quite often the first 15 or 20 laps are just a holding pattern. They're just trying to settle into a pace. You don't want to overuse your Michelin tyres too early. Otherwise, you've got nothing left to fight with later in the day. So quite often you'll see them just holding station, just showing your nose every now and then, but not squabbling too hard. Save something for the end of the motor race when you really need to fight, when the stakes get a bit higher.
And a reminder too, there are a couple of classes here, so we'll update you on who is where in that class structure. You're looking at the outright side of things at the moment. Just before we go to Emma, very quickly, Bolton leads the Pro-Am class. Nice work. And David Gregg on top in Class B as we go back to Emma.
Garth Walden, a real shame, tough luck on that penalty after Cam was showing such great pace so far this weekend.
Yeah, it's a bit of a shame. Obviously, it was creeping on the start. I didn't quite see it, but we'll have to review it after this. And he's all right. He's fastest on track at the moment, so we'll just keep pressing on and see where we can end up.
Thanks, good luck.
Cheers.
the key to that, Rusty, is past the four cars in front, win by 5.1 seconds, and you still win the race. It's easy to be said in the commentary box, isn't it?
On that lap, incidentally, where Darth was chatting about being fastest on track at the moment, 1 minute 11.64 from Cameron Crickus we've seen, but it's just been eclipsed by Jones, our race leader. He goes 1 minute 11.34, new fastest lap of the race with 28 to go.
Well, and I said a lap ago that they're just cruising around, but that's only 4/10 off the lap record here at Queensland Raceway. The pace is extraordinary this weekend. Graham Williams, Victorian-based driver now for Sonic Motor Racing, runs wide. That's the exit of turn 5. Did that all on his own. Had a spin. The car has been recovered and he is continuing to run. You mentioned the Class B battle. We saw Andrew Goldie leading that in race 1 earlier today. Had a mysterious issue on the restart. The car just cut out. No understanding of why it cut out either, which is slightly concerning. So they were working on that. Ash Seaward had his head stuck underneath that car between races, and they were poking and prodding around to try and work out what was going on. He was really frustrated because he said, I was 4 spots in front of David Gregg, my class rival, and the thing just didn't go, and I saw them all driving by. Those two have a fantastic battle in Class B, and the race within a race in Porsche Michelin GT3 Cup Challenge is always fiercely competitive. Pancioni.
That would have rattled the fillings if he had them. He doesn't look like he's old enough to have it.
No.
But Christian Pancioni, man, did that car move around coming off the curb. That final exit curbing off 6. He still sits in 3rd place, holds that down at the moment.
It was a strange moment, all on his own. Just a little bit of understeer maybe out of the final corner, and a couple of wheels out over that exit curb, which has been reprofiled since we were last here. They implemented that last weekend, and it's just allowing these drivers to take a few more liberties with track limits and extend the racetrack out over these wider exit curbs. Turn 1 especially has been quite noticeable how much more road they're using. And I know Race Control just keeping a bit of an eye on it over the weekend to make sure they're not taking the mickey too much over the course of these races.
Yeah, but they're race drivers. If you give them an option, they will look for the advantage.
The mickey will be taken.
Yeah, that's right.
And how's the competitive balance between teams as well? McElroy Racing leading, Sonic second, that great battle that's been a staple of one-make Porsche racing for the better part of a decade, if not longer. Ash Seaward Motorsport in 3rd place, another Sonic car 4th, Aaron Love doing a nice job at the moment. And then Garth Walden Racing running P5 with the 777 car. So there's 4 teams in the top 5 in this motor race.
In gap terms, not much of it. As far as the Pro-Am side of things is concerned, Sam Sheehan just behind Brett Bolton, so they're 6th and 7th respectively. Bolton has the upper hand in that class at the moment, but only about a second between the two of them, just over in fact.
Brett Bolton, his nickname is Blisters, literally because he hangs onto the steering wheel so tight he gets blisters. There's nothing nefarious about that, it's just a fact. And of course, McElroy Racing cottoned onto that pretty quickly.
Unlike Andy McElroy to cotton onto a nickname.
I know. He was very, very proud. He went 5/10 quicker than he's ever been around Queensland Raceway. Testing, racing, practice, anything in qualifying this morning.
That's a fair chunk to find.
Enormous chunk of time. And Andy McElroy was telling me that this weekend is the fastest they've ever gone in this model cup car at Queensland Raceway. So track conditions, tyre, combinations, just all working to produce some unbelievably good lap times. Rob Woods, Sydney Sider off the road, turn 3, half spin and recovers.
A little earlier today, we caught a glimpse of one Warren Luff. He was down, in fact, at turn 3. We were debating whether we thought we saw him. He texted you. But, I mean, fantastic to think that the calibre of someone like him is involved in the sport, in guiding some of those coming through the field. And then it's also reflected in the engineering nous that you talked about before from the Ash Seaward Motorsports, the Andy McElroys of the world, and the people that are in those organisations. Very cool.
Yeah, there's some propeller heads down in that paddock, aren't they? Incredibly intelligent people. The 50th anniversary of the moon landing lately. There's more brain power down there than put man on the moon. And the computer's driving away. Really, really intelligent people, and I love going and picking their brains, especially the driver coaches, because it's such a margin of hundredths of a second and getting the best out of the driver. Max Vidot getting the best out of 77 at the moment. Really good run. Harry Jones out on the exit curb, had a very big moment, and there'll be a change of the lead. Sonic car goes to the front. That was an interesting little exchange. And I think an error from Harry when he ran wide had caught the big slide, and that just opened the door for the South Aussie to squirt on through and grab the lead.
I'm a visual kind of guy. I just can't imagine Andy McElroy doing a mission to the moon. That's another story. His son's doing an awesome job at the moment in the United States, isn't he? So we go back and have a look at our Shannons replay here. Oh, gets loose.
So all on his own, no contact. There almost was there as Vidot went by. So that was mid-corner. The car was sliding and he came into shot, backing it out, drift style. That won't do the rear Michelins any favours. They're already dealing with 6 quite long radius corners and 450 horsepower of Porsche's flat 6 finest. They don't want to have to deal with a big slide either.
It's what's got me intrigued there. Sorry to come across you, or cut across you there, but Russell Ingall said to me before that the track was dirty in parts offline in the TCR race. So it just makes me think that at lap 10 of 33, it is odd to be doing something like that.
I agree with you. Perhaps just half a car width offline and a bit of dirt on the rear tyres just caused the car to oversteer like that. Either way, the fact that Max Vidot was running so close at the time just enabled him to squeeze through and grab the race lead, but he's not pulling away, is he? So it may have just been a little error, and Harry Jones has still got the pace to run with the new race leader. Pancioni watched all that unfold behind. Top 5 cars are covered by 2.2 seconds, 10 laps into the race.
Let's have a look here on the replay. This is Class B, so David Gregg in the Dakin entry. That's down at turn 3.
Andrew Goldie just popping up the inside. So change for the lead in the class battle. They're 13th and 14th on the road.
You've talked before about those guys going wheel to wheel, lap after lap. This is a long race, and I don't imagine that one is over just yet. We just focus on this for a moment. We'll get an update from the lane shortly. It's on here side by side, but Jones is not ideally placed for the next left-hand turn. Vidot should have that, and look at Pancioni here. He was a little despondent, I thought, in that interview after the first race. Oh. Look at him, makes advantage here now. Couldn't quite complete it. Got a little loose off the corner, and that loss of drive just cost him. He was there for a moment. He was there.
Great racing, wheel-to-wheel stuff. I think we can jump down into the lane with Cam, who may have an update on this amazing fight for the lead.
Yeah, I'll just got Jason Dunstan here with me at the moment. Christian Pancioni, he's really coming along from strength to strength.
Yeah, the last couple of days he spent at Paul Morris. Just the whole year, going from Class B car to a Class A car, just part of the learning experience, mate. He's really, grabbed the by the scruff of the neck and just running with it. I think it's very good, doing a very good job.
And some young drivers out there running very closely, keeping it pretty clean. You must be impressed as one of the...
Be careful about the old jokes. Yeah, look, it's the feeder category, isn't it? If you can't do well here, you're probably going to get eaten alive at the main game. So this is where they, come to learn their craft, hone it. I think all the boys up the front are doing a fantastic job.
All right, Jace, go put the headset back on.
No worries, thanks.
That is a great story in Australian motorsport at the moment. The involvement that the dude, Paul Morris, has with a number of drivers. Obviously, a shining example is Anton Di Pasquale for the Erebus team. But then you look, Brock Feeney is here this weekend working on the radio with Nash Morris, Paul's son. We've just heard that Christian Pancioni's been at Norwell doing some training. It does help, doesn't it? And Paul said to me very recently, it's not just a case of doing one driver training session. It's like school. You've got to keep going back. You've got to keep learning. There's lots of learnings from something like that.
Yeah, it's a great story. And the other thing Jason mentioned was the development nature of this category. And this is a Jim Richards Endurance Trophy race. I'll throw some names that have won it, actually, Rusty. Cooper Murray's the defending champion of the gym. Before that, Jordan Love, Jackson Evans, James Bella, Fraser Ross, Richard Muscat, Kane Rose, Roger Largo. They're all pretty serious racing car drivers in their own right.
Let's get an update from the lane.
Mike Henry, that was a fantastic move by Max to take the lead. But how are you talking him through this now? Players, be smart. It's a big battle going on.
Yeah, look, it's a fair race for us. So once you're in front like this, you need to settle down, get into a rhythm, look after the tyres, and we should be right.
Did I hear him referred to as Michael Henry earlier today? You don't often hear. Yes, sir.
Who's Michael? He's a great character. And he absolutely loves the art of working with young drivers. He told me a couple of times that he's just thoroughly enjoying the process of working with young guys. He spent a lot of his career very high level in supercars racing, the Holden Racing team, working with the likes of Mark Scaife. But it's such a change of approach in bringing a young driver up through the ranks, and he's really loved it. He's working with Michael Arman in Porsche Pace Carrera Cup Australia. Arguably the fastest combination in that championship at the moment. Mike's having a ripper season. Ironically, Michael's here working for another team. He's driver coaching for Cameron Crick and Rob Woods at Garth Walden Racing. But Henry's really loving that process and working with these guys and getting them up to speed. And loves a win, though.
He loves a win, but so much experience to offer for a young driver that's prepared to listen and prepared to apply that stuff. And, you know, you mentioned some of the names before. I mean, Cooper Murray, what a season he had last year. Awesome to know that, you know, his name is etched in the Jim Richards Endurance Trophy record books, because it was a heartbreaking end to the overall championship for him at Sydney Motorsport Park. And I love the fact that he's been able to bounce from that and go on in 2019 and do some good things at the next tier, the next level up with the McElroy team.
Well, he dominated a couple of weeks ago up in Townsville in the most recent round of Carrera Cup and raced to his first round win there, fresh out of GT3 Cup Challenge the year before, and that shows the progression.
He'll be watching today, no doubt.
No doubt, 100% cheering on the McElroy drivers, and I suspect the Ash Seaward drivers as well. He did swap teams midway through the year, but he'll have ties in both camps. He's a great young star. Meanwhile, Team SA will be watching because their boy Max Vidot leads the way. Formula Ford graduate with Sonic Motor Racing. His dad's a staple in the South Australian motorsport teams. Runs a bunch of Hyundai Excels over there in the State Series in South Australia very successfully. And that's actually where Max has got his development roots for. So it's cool that the Excels are here this weekend at Queensland Raceway in its own right, becoming a development category for stuff like GT3 Cup Challenge.
Absolutely, and I think I've seen his dad here in the paddock this weekend, and at the CAMS Awards in South Australia at the beginning of the year, the awards for 2018, some really good people from the South Australian motorsport scene were on the table with the Vidots, the Percat family, for example. Gil Slade was there, so I mean, really cool that there's that kind of almost family sort of support for him.
Absolutely right, yeah. The South Australian racing community is small, but it's pretty passionate and close-knit, and they love seeing one of their own get out at a national level and do a super job.
We got a drama here for Cameron Crick. Now, he just run wide. Maybe it was only the dirty part of the track, but I thought for a moment that he'd locked a brake, and just as I glanced up, I thought there may have been a puff of smoke, so we'll confirm that for you, but he's lost some ground there, unfortunately, Cameron Crick, as a result of that.
Having said that, behind him now more than 5 seconds to Brett Bolton. So if the race finished now, with his 5-second penalty for that start infringement, he would retain 5th place. So the damage limitation in the end for car 777 in this race. We'll have 5 seconds added to his race time. There is Brett Bolton. He leads Tag Heuer Pro-Am. And behind him, another South Aussie young gun, is Tom Taplin. And if that surname sounds familiar, it's because his dad is Andrew Taplin, a well-known GT racer for many a year and South Australian property and real estate developer. And it's great to see the second-generation driver going there. He's a talent, young Tom. Didn't come up through the traditional ranks, didn't do a huge amount of karting, jumped straight into racing cars. This is his second year in One Mate Porsche Racing, working with a very experienced team at Buick Motorworks. And talking about driver coaches before, Alex Davison on the headsets to him, so that's not too shabby, is it?
I mean, in Porsche terms, Alex has a rich history both locally and internationally with the brand, so yeah, very cool guy to have working with you. We continue kind of around the half race distance marker, if you like, for Max Vidot.
How's the pressure at the front? So the top 4 cars covered by 1.5 seconds. Aaron Love, lights ablaze, just tacking on to the back of these leading 3 cars. The top 3 covered by half a second, just running line astern and playing out. It's like a phony war at the moment. There's no fighting. They're just holding position until the hostilities kick off in the final couple of laps.
What sort of war are you having? Let's have a phony war.
Yeah. it's the ideal war, isn't it? No one gets hurt.
That's right.
Yeah.
Perfect.
They're just casting rocks from 20 yards.
So 0.3 of a second was the gap last time by with Vidot to Jones and then Pancioni. Nice job by Love, who's right in the mix here as well. This is a great 4-way fight at the midpoint of this race. Still lots to unfold, as Richard detailed before, as things start to feel the pounding that they get from this endurance race. Who's been able to manage it, nurse it, as the afternoon sun begins to set here at Queensland Raceway. What a day we've had. Saturday at the Shannons Nationals, and a massive day to come your way tomorrow to wrap things up here, round 4 of the championship.
Max Vidot seems to have good pace at the moment, running in the high 1 minute 11, so an 11.8 last time by. Harry Jones at 12.2, so he dropped a little bit of track position relative to the leader. Pancioni in the high 11s as well with good speed. Actually, the fastest of that group was the car in 4th place, Aaron Love. The interesting thing for me will be when these cars start sliding around a little bit more. The rear tyres will be the first to go at the end of this race. And he admitted that he drove it very, very hard, but Max Vidot said 12 laps earlier on today was hard work, and the rear tyres were shot at the end of that. So this is a much, much longer race. It's another 2/3 on top of that race 1 distance. So we'll see how the Michelin rubber, they've been a great partner of Porsche racing in Australia for a very long time. We'll see how they hold up towards the end. Half the race to go. Still lots to play out in this one, you feel.
Credit to Tony Martin there, who moved out of the way of the front-running competitors here as they came down into that final turn. He had a moment earlier today, didn't he, when he locked a rear brake and went off in that very same part of the circuit. So some real smarts being applied there at the moment. We should give a shout out to Andrew Goldie doing a nice job in Class B, 13th at the moment, leading that class from David Greig. But again, not much in it between those two. The battle continues.
I've got to give Tony enormous credit. I went up to him after that race and said, "Oh, mate, did you have a mechanical issue? What happened?" I gave him every opportunity to play from the race car driver book of excuses. He said, "No, mate, I just made a mistake." So full credit, owned up to it, ended up bunkered in the sand. And they got the car back out and running, obviously. So he's currently 3rd in Class B. Bear in mind, that pays points. So there's a Jim Richards Endurance Trophy for each class as well. He's currently on the podium potentially in Class B.
Vote 1, Tony Martin. Honesty is his middle name. That's very cool, isn't it?
Yeah. Election campaign coming soon.
Yep.
How about these top 4? Absolutely locked together. Should give a shout out as well to another of the Class B contenders, another of the orange cars. It's the Vogue colour in the championship this year. Just coming into shot now is Nathan Murray. That's the Garage 1 Morris Finance entry. Nathan is the main man behind Morris Finance. This is his first season of car racing. That car's got a bit of history too, as I put my Porsche sleuth hat on. It's a car raced by Jackson Evans in this championship. And Nathan's been a supporter of Jackson over his career. He's doing a great job. He's another driver that's just been setting personal bests. And we're talking about the history of this championship, Rusty, and its 200th race. And this series was formed on the basis of racing your mates in Porsches. And it's still got that at its core. Guys like Nathan coming out, having a great weekend, enjoying their racing, enjoying the weekend away from the stresses of business life. It's still got that element, which is great to see.
And you can see that when it comes to podium time Sunday afternoon. There is a real rich camaraderie there, genuine. Still, I mean, to think that, though, we are just beyond the halfway mark of the race, and it's still a really tough fight at the front of the field. So Jones just shows the nose, not able to do too much about it, but he's letting Vidot know that he's there. So
this is intense.
It is.
At the front, these 4 have just not been separated since the opening lap, and there's now only 13 laps to go. So you start to get to a point now where you're going to have to go. And maybe that's what Harry Jones is doing, because he got a very good run through turn 1. He gets a good run through turn 2, and he's locked underneath the rear wing of the Bob Jane T-Mart's car. But he has to defend because Christian's coming as well. The 17-year-old looking to get himself further up the podium. They're almost 3 abreast. Pancioni the long way around at turn 3. This will be big if he can pull this off.
Vidot's in trouble, and I reckon that Jones knows those rears are just starting to feel it. You could see the car slide there through turn 3. So that's given Jones a sniff. It's given him some incentive, and he's going with it. Pancioni's recognised it too. And what about Love? He's been ultra smooth in this race so far and played the card at the right time. Yep. He is in the mix here.
That is a brilliant point. I reckon Aaron Love could be in the best shape of everyone. Wow. And he's got problems. Vidot's got problems. He slows on the back straight into turn 6.
It's like it lost drive or something. What happened there? Missed a gear. It's not possible.
Pancioni to the front. Pancioni goes to the lead. Harry Jones had to take the full evasive action. They're wheel to wheel, side by side at turn 1, and Harry Jones goes back to the race lead. What is going on at the front of this race? It's extraordinary.
We need to dispatch one of the guys to Sonic. Something can't be right with Vidot's car. I mean, he's still He's still pushing on, but he's dropped a couple of car lengths relative to Love. Something's not right. Pancioni senses an opportunity here. I said he looked despondent in that interview after the first race today. He had pole position to start the weekend. Great stuff by the championship leader. Love, as we said, looks smooth. This is on here. 10 to go. Or 12, I should say.
It's easy to get ahead of yourself in this one. What a motor race. It has burst into life. After 20 laps of just holding station, it's exploded. I don't think Harry Jones has got much race car under him at the moment. He's really struggling. The thing's just checking up mid-corner. And Pancioni looking left and right to find a way past. And doing the same down at turn 6.
Don't use all the tyres, though, Christian. In that mission, don't use them up.
How was the move around the outside of turn 1? Harry Jones went around the outside of turn 1 to grab the lead back. That was enormous, Rusty.
What's wrong with Vidot's car? Look at the way he's drifted right back into the hands of Cameron Crick. So Cameron Crick is going to get the move done.
Here it is again. Watch Harry Jones. He had to go full evasive here. That was very, very nearly an enormous accident.
It's weird, though.
It was like a gear selector issue. It didn't grab a gear, and the car hesitated. And you're at full throttle, gaining an enormous rate of knots. Turn 5's not a slow corner by any extent. And then this was wild at turn 1. And it was going on behind as well. The teammates passing each other, but here goes Harry Jones around the outside.
How's the commitment?
100% committed. He had to turn the car in. He wasn't going to drive the thing straight ahead. He just had to hope that it had come out the other side. And that's Ross McGregor. While we were watching all of that, one of the Tag Heuer Pro-Am contenders has had a big moment. And there's some stress on the face of Michael Henry at Sonic Motor Racing.
We're quite rightly staying or giving the attention to what's happening up in front here. And Vidot is really starting to slow now. But just quickly, Ryan Sewell from the back of the grid is up into position 5. Amazing.
What a drive. There's so many storylines in this championship. Vidot continuing, but he's limping around. And we touched on the point that it's been feast or famine for him this year. He has won more than any other driver. But when he's not winning, he's not finishing. And that is a championship killer.
Top of the pops this morning to now struggling in this one. Just unbelievable. Poor Max Vidot.
We're going to have to employ a psychologist to look after the category to cater for the mood swings that are going on in these races. It's extraordinary.
Can they send one to commentary too?
It's hard to cope. There's still 10 to go. It's not done with yet. But I tell you what, if Harry Jones gets this championship done, and I hesitate to say that, but there's so much racing to go. A couple of rounds after this at Sandown and the Ben Motorsport Park in November. But he'll look back on this weekend pretty fondly because this has been an all-time drive. What a performance. And with the McElrea crew, I mean, it's home turf. Andy's originally from New Zealand, obviously. We don't hold that against him. No, but obviously deeply embedded here in Queensland, that race team on the Gold Coast. So they'll be delighted with this at the moment, but it's not over. That is the thing we've got to keep coming back to. And just as these drivers go past exit turn 2, they'll look to their right and they'll see Max Vidot parked on the escape road. So the short circuit here at Queensland Raceway, that car is now stranded. He is parked. His race is over. 0 championship point score after winning this morning. And once again, just after it started to look great, championship slipping away again from the Bob Jane Team Arts driver. You'll get a glimpse of it just there. Oh, great photo for the legend photographers that are here this weekend, but not great for Max Vidot, unfortunately. So, wow. I wonder if there's a bit more to come from Christian Pancioni yet. I think that car's got some pace. Ash Seaward knows how to set up a race car for these long races, and this young man from Melbourne's looking really strong. Emma?
Hey, Andy McElrea, Harry Jones doing a fantastic job out there, and I mean, this win would be so good for his championship.
Yeah, exactly. He came into this round with a handy lead, but Max had a great race one, and in this category he never relaxed. So if we can stay up in that top couple of places, we'll be really happy.
Absolutely love this category. The racing is always sensational. Just lined up for the 200th race. What is it that you love about being a part of this category?
we love the way that Porsche support it with the parts supply at the circuit and how they look after our customers. So that part of it's great. And for us, we're a competitive team in the Carrera Cup Championship. And this is where we find our new stars. So we love it.
Thanks, Eddie. Good luck.
You're welcome.
Kane?
Mike Henry, Max Vidal stopped out on track at the moment. This is not good for a championship hunt.
No, absolutely not. It's exactly not what you want. He was doing such a great job too. You know, Max has worked so hard over the weekend. We were happy to be yesterday's field. So proud of him for what he's done today. And then all of a sudden we're out. So not sure exactly what it is yet. It might be fuel, but we'll wait till we get back and have a look.
Yeah, and that's a challenge for Max Vidal as well. I know it's noisy down here. We're hearing some fuel pressure issue maybe, but for him it seems either race wins or DNFs. That's just not good for a long season, is it?
You just want race wins. We've got another run tomorrow. And, you know, we'll do our best. We've got a couple of rounds left, so it's not.
Thanks, Mike.
No worries.
Sounds like Mike's resting heart rate normally is quite good. Yours and mine just went through the roof because during that interview, man, Aaron Love locked up coming into the centre part of the circuit. I think one of the wheels just got off track very slightly into the grass or the dirt.
Yeah, it looked like he grabbed the inside front going into 4 and had the slide and the car ran wide. But ironically, he's actually closed the gap to Pancioni. So through all of the squabbling that was going on, Aaron just dropped off the back of the 2 leaders a little bit, but he's come right back to them. There they are. All 3 of them in shot going through turn 4 now.
6.5 to go in this one, and you can sense something brewing here. This is not over. That'd be wonderful for Jones.
Don't say that.
No, you know what I mean, right? This is little lap traffic now becomes a factor. So they get through this part of it nice and cleanly. Nice recovery by Love. What's Pancioni got up his sleeve in terms of the way that Ash Seaward and the crew have prepped this car for the longer race today? So much experience in that Ash Seaward camp, and it's a big team battle, this one. Big team battle.
This has been a really impressive drive from Aaron Love, 16 years of age. I'm sure his brother Jordan will be watching. Great West Aussie racing family. Both of them hone their talents over there at Barbagallo Raceway. Off in the gravel trap, surely bunkered, halfway between turn 1 and turn 2 with 6 laps to go.
Safety car on standby by the looks of it.
It's Graham Williams, I think. There's a couple of silver cars, and in the setting sun, we're staring directly into it from our commentary point. Race control will be watching that very, very closely. Jones has got some lap traffic to deal with here on the run down into turn 6. It's the Dakin car of David Gregg, second in Class B at the moment. Pancioni not done with yet either. Let's see what race control do with that car at 1.
Moving the SC board now. Safety car gets dispatched.
No way.
Hyundai and Cap safety car is on track. We're going to have a cracking sprint to the finish in this one. All as a part of the Jim Richards Endurance Trophy that is a very significant aspect of the Porsche GT3 Cup Challenge brought to you by Michelin. We are in for a nail-biter.
Well, if you mash all of the last 199 races into one, pull all the best bits out of them, this is what you get. It's this motor race, and that's just another look at that car going off the road. I'm pretty certain it's Graham. It's hard to see in the bright sunlight here, but very much bunkered down at turn 1. 5 to go in this. We are set for a racing finish.
We'll grab a quick commercial break here. Stay with us. It's going to be a brilliant run to the finish. Don't go away.
It's all my life. My life is hot rods, designing them, building them, and racing.
Hand-built with a stainless steel roof.
It won the Monte Carlo Rally 4 times. Like Dad, I've always been a Ford man.
In '71, this was the fastest 4-door car in the world.
Insurance? Shannons, of course.
Safer vehicle choices save lives. Find out who survives.
Success looks like this. Hard work looks like this. Determination, yeah, we got that. Skills, got those too.
We are right where we belong.
Right where we belong.
And we aren't going anywhere.
Life feels good in the fast lane. Forget the boundaries, forget the rules. Be different. Be different. Be different. Be different. See our stories at daretobedifferent.com.
What's my podcast about? It's for people that love a good driving yarn. This connection between the owners and the machine. That's Rusty's Garage, and it's free on Podcast One.
Podcast One.
You're back at the perfect time, not for Max Vidot on the screen there. You're back at the time the ANCAP Hyundai safety car switches its lights off, heads straight for the lane. They've done the extraction. We're set for a race restart. Richard Craill and Greg Russ with you. He's just rubbed his hands together in the commentary box. That's because we've got a brilliant 4 laps to come. So Harry Jones, championship leader, will control the field from Christian Pancioni, who was pole sitter earlier today and really would love to get the job done here. Who can manage the cold rubber on the restart? Watch also for Aaron Love, currently in 3rd place. We're underway, green flag conditions here again at Queensland Raceway.
Perfect restart, Harry Jones. Judged it to perfection. Got the jump. Cameron Crick's having a moment. It's a big one at turn 1. Ryan Saul's going to get the spot. This is the worst nightmare for Cameron. Remember, he's got that 5-second penalty hanging over his head. A restart was the last thing he needed. But Harry Jones nailed that to perfection. Judged it nicely. Got the breakaway from Christian Pancioni. And Pancioni's got to deal with Aaron Love, who's behind him.
Ripper story. Ryan Saul from the back of the grid. There he is in that white Porsche coming through turn 3. Is now up to P4 from position 19. Great drive.
Awesome performance. This is the stuff championships are made of. He's right in contention. He's a race winner this season. Graduate from Cam's Pace Formula 4 racing. Terrific young star of the future. But this is a series filled with them. 2 laps to go next time by. Time certain cutoff is 4:48 plus 1. I don't think that's going to be a problem. We'll get the full 33 in. Love with a lock-up at turn 6. He's run a little bit wide. Gives up some ground. I think this is a race in 2 now. It's Jones v Pancioni. It's McElrea v Ash Seaward Motorsport for the win.
I'll tell you who's looking aggressive as well. Sam Sheehan in the battle with Brett Bolton for the Tag Heuer Pro-Am class. They're close, those two, so we'll keep an eye on that. Currently, in outright terms, they are 7th and 8th on track, respectively.
So this is where, traditionally, the moves have been set up. It's the exit of turn 1, turn 2, and the run down the back straight, and the overtaking opportunity. The best on the racetrack has to be one of the best in the country, surely, at turn 3. But this time, Harry Jones is all good. Pancioni, nothing he can do. Both cars get good drive out of the corner, and it's a car length and a half, a 9/11 length and a half between them as they run down to turn 4.
Look at Pancioni deep under brakes.
Too deep. Too deep. The car just bobbled on the entry. He managed to get it turned, though, which is really impressive because he gets good drive out of 5 as well. It's a last lap thriller in the 200th race in the Porsche Michelin GT3 Cup Challenge. It's straight into the top 10 of all time easily. It could be one of the best.
Jones, just a little bit of movement from the car as he came out of the final turn. This is the last roll of the dice for Pancioni. A lap to go to decide this one.
He's never won a race in a Porsche. He's won his class. He's never won outright. The guy in front's the championship leader. He's got a big championship margin. If Pancioni goes full send down here at turn 3, Harry Jones has to open the steering and let him go. He cannot risk that championship lead.
He knows he needs to make a statement. You can sense that Christian Pancioni was a little flat today after that first race. Nice and close. Deep under brakes, lock brake from Love. Sewell was there as well. He might get to third, Ryan Sewell. Look at this.
What a drive from the back of the field. The safety car helped, but this is all car speed now. And he's going to go around the outside at turn 4. Big move, Ryan Sewell, who'll be hung out to driver's contact. Love gathers it up. Run to the final corner. Harry Jones has driven the race of his life. And the 200th GT3 Cup Challenge race has been an absolute thriller. There's been 196 drivers start this race, 38 different winners. Few of them have done it this well. Harry Jones wins the 200th, and it's one of the best races the series has ever had.
And Ryan Sewell from the back of the grid gets to position 3, albeit with the elbows out and a bit of a skirmish on that final lap with Love.
Wow.
What a drive, what a race.
That'll rumble a little bit this evening, you'd think, between McElrea and Sonic. Well, didn't that just deliver? 33 laps of the absolute best. Aaron Love finishes 4th, Cameron Crick 5th. Pending that 5-second penalty, the results will update to take that into equation. Brett Bolton wins Tag Heuer Pro-Am, and Cameron Crick ultimately will be relegated to 8th. So we touched on that earlier, Rusty. That safety car really killed him. Yep.
Well done too. I think Andrew Goldie taking out Class B. Am I right in confirming that?
Absolutely.
So, awesome stuff. So here's the recap of the results for you. Harry Jones takes out a gripping endurance race here. The Jim Richards Endurance Trophy race at Queensland Raceway from Christian Pancioni, who had a real dip, who had a real go, and Ryan Sewell from last to 3rd. Just remarkable. So a few other stories will follow. There is more Porsche racing to come tomorrow. Hard luck for Cameron Crick. That moment off the start line, that 5-second penalty would ultimately hurt him. And here's the other yarn. That DNF that did not finish at the bottom of your screen for Sonic Motor Racing. Max Vidot, race winner earlier today, goes from the absolute highs, the absolute confidence of that going into this one, to not finishing the race. Man.
Oh. Wow. There have been 11 races so far this season in this championship. Harry Jones has finished 1st, 2nd or 3rd in every single one of them. This is how he did it. Wow, this seems like a long time ago now. For the lead at turn 3, Max Vidot tried the outside line. This was Graham Williams having a spin. I need to correct myself, it wasn't Graham down at turn 1. It was Rob Woods, unfortunately, who had that spin that brought out the safety car late in the race. That was him earlier, having a little bit of a gyration down at turn 3. But these 4 at the front just held on, and this was enormous. Harry Jones with the full opposite lock. The thing must have been on the rack stops coming out of turn 5. And these guys, this is a Class B fight. I told you this would be a good fight.
And it was right the way through. So we saw the little loose moment for Jones, but then as the race wore on, as we got more than 20 laps into it, we started to see what we thought was rear tyres going off for Max Vidot, but something deeper, something worse, maybe transmission or some sort of problem at this point here. What about the evasive action from Jones, who couldn't believe the slowing Vidot, manages to gather it all up and take the race lead? We had a car go off at the first turn, and it would bring out the safety car, bunch everybody up.
And remember, Pancioni ultimately got the lead through all of that, but Harry passed him back with an amazing route around the outside at turn 1. This was the restart. It was superbly judged, and arguably what led to Harry winning the race. Wow, quite sizable contact. Love to Sewell on the outside of turn 4, wheel to wheel, and then the drive to the checkered flag. The 200th race in the history of this great little championship. It started in 2008. A pretty cold and blustery Mallala Raceway with 13 cars has delivered a thriller. We can head down to Victory Lane to hear from the race winner.
Harry Jones, that was one of the greatest races of your life. Well, that's how Richard Crowell explained it. I agree. Congratulations on winning the 200th race of this category.
Thank you so much. Yeah, no, I can't thank the team enough. That was That was an awesome race, and the car was sick. The first like 15 to 20 laps was all about tyre preservation, and then it just turned on for the last 12, and there was heaps of pressure from behind, and that was just awesome. So I'm wrapped.
Let's not forget as well, you need those points for your championship. You extend that lead, which is always very handy.
Yeah, certainly. Winning races is the best thing I can be doing. So, I'm stoked to come away with the win.
Good luck tomorrow.
Thank you very much.
And in second position, well done, Christian Pancioni. A fantastic day for you. Consistency is key, so another podium up your sleeve.
Yeah. The race was it was a very long race. Didn't get the best of starts, but I just kept pushing. It was really close at the end. It was really close there, and I nearly got him. But we'll push tomorrow and hope for the and go for the win. But I can't thank the team, Ashley with Motorsport enough, and all my sponsors. Thank you.
Good luck tomorrow. And Aaron Love in third position. Fantastic racing. Well done. And not the greatest start to your day, but a much better finish.
Yeah, definitely. It was a better finish. Qualifying really didn't go our way, and then race one had a little bit of an incident on the first lap, but crawled our way back up into the top 10. So happy with that result. It was a hard-fought race, that race. The car pace wasn't quite there for how I was driving it. I'm not sure if I could have done something different to try and improve that, but towards the end, I made a couple of little mistakes which really didn't help, but tough-fought race and move on to tomorrow.
Good luck tomorrow.
Thank you.
And I'll invite in Cameron Van and Duncan. Cam, what an awesome race. Love watching this category.
It's been amazing, hasn't it? What a day we've had, and it's only day one of two of our coverage on the live stream, so thank you for you all joining us from around the world. We've enjoyed all of your comments on social media. And remember, tomorrow morning, 9 a.m, we're back live with the Shannons Nationals live stream. 1 p.m, though, we are live on SBS, Emma, and this race today really set us up for a wonderful day tomorrow.
This race was amazing, but TCR, the battle's sensational. A Frenchman took the win today. Who will win tomorrow? Russell Ingall on the podium too, which is fantastic to see, but great news that we do get to come back and do it all again tomorrow.
Yes, we have Car Sales TCR Australia, we've got improved production, we've got sports sedans, we've got prototypes, and we've got so much racing to go, especially with these Porsches. If you enjoyed that, remember 9 a.m. tomorrow on the live stream, 1 p.m. on SBS. We'll be live in Australia and around the world. Until then, though, we'll see you tomorrow.